Tweak it now.
I'm gonna look and see.
Is what else? An Instagram challenge to copy artworks. That's been one of my favorites too. Reconnecting with students in the Zoom classes, online theater productions. So lots of things have really been sustaining people. Art therapy, dance therapy, the Chatteries classes, Zoom improv classes. Yeah. So I know some of the things that have sustained me have been some of the performances that I've seen online, some of the Instagram versus challenges. There was one between Erica Badu and Jill Scott this past weekend, which was a lot of fun. Musicians live streaming and soundcore sidewalk stages. Yes. So there's a lot of things that have been giving us joy and sustaining us as we go through this time. So today we have, as I said, some guests who are going to share with us about the arts and mental health, art therapy, music therapy. And I am going to ask my friend Rodney if he will do the introductions and then we'll go from there.
Hey, good morning. Uh, just one second. All right, good morning. We have two special guests who are, hold on one second. We have two Zoom going on. There you go. Okay, thank you. All right. We have two special guests, Shyla and Katie, who are going to share about art therapy, creative art therapy. That I noticed, and James had pointed out, that over the last couple of weeks we've been talking about how the COVID crisis has affected mental health and the power of the arts to really be an arts response to the COVID crisis. So invited two art therapists, and maybe some of you aren't aware about the field of art therapy. So I'm going to pass it over to Shyla to kick us off with some information about what's going on at Memorial.
Great, thank you, Rodney. For everybody who's just joining on, I see our count is up to 51. And if you haven't muted your sound, I think the sound comes through a lot better on these Zoom calls if while you're listening you have your volume muted. But if you do have a question to ask at any point, if you're set up the way you can do on Zoom, you can just press the space bar on your computer and then you can ask a comment and then let go, and then you continue to be muted. So just one little helpful tip that I've learned recently. But thank you, Rodney. So just to clarify, in terms of my training and my education and credentials, I have a master's in intermodal expressive arts therapy from Lesley University. And that is like the field of art therapy, which is visual art based. and also music therapy, which is based in music, dance therapy or dance movement therapy, which is dance and movement oriented. And we also have poetry therapy, which is a written word-based creative arts therapy. And then I also have extra training in drama therapy, and I'm a registered drama therapist with the North America Drama Therapy Association. Intermodal expressive arts therapies kind of uses elements of all of those in a more fluid arts-based language. So I kind of wear two hats. I have the intermodal part of me that sometimes dips into movement or visual art. Primarily, I'm not a musician, but definitely love the sort of integrating of music and movement into my work as well. But then also always kind of wearing that drama therapist hat that's looking at some of the core processes of drama therapy, which are more interactive and enacting with the tools of the theater. So if you're familiar with that. Does that help? Or did I just confuse everybody? All right, so my presentation today is resilience in the creative process, discussing medical provider burnout, because I'm also the arts and health coordinator at CHI Memorial Hospital. But I do want to clarify that this presentation is not really giving you a picture of the work that I'm doing at Memorial. Right now, we're kind of limited in what we can do. And our interventions are more in the realm of using our visual visiting artists exhibits throughout the hospital as a passive way for physicians and clinicians to be able to walk through the halls and use those artworks reflectively. But what I have for this presentation is really based on some of the work that I'm doing with my doctoral studies at Lesley in expressive therapy. So if you want to skip to the next slide, James. So I've been looking at burnout. Anybody in here raise your hand if you have been thinking about burnout or thinking about our clinicians and physicians, nurses, respiratory therapists who are in the hospitals and also possibly feeling burnout. So I'm looking at the research on this, and some of the main areas where people experience burnout, how it manifests is in work-life changes, really makes a big difference. So this is not just for medical service providers. I think a lot of us are experiencing some of these burnout symptoms too. Emotional exhaustion is a part of it. Ineffectiveness, cynicism, that's sort of like, wait a minute, am I making a difference here? Is this working? You know, asking that question a lot can be really difficult. Depersonalization, defranchised grief, compassion fatigue, and moral distress. So I don't know how you guys are seeing this on your screen, but I do have some images that'll be on the left and right. So if you have the strip down the side where you can see some of the faces, you can go up to the top and collapse that where it says hide thumbnail video, or just the one if you want to see whoever's talking at the moment, it might show up as well. But if you hide that, you'll be able to see the images on the side. So if you'll take just a minute and have a look at this image, which is from the World Health Organization campaign on COVID-19 images. And it says it's normal to feel sad, stressed, confused, scared, or angry during a crisis. Talking to people you trust can help, so contact your friends and family. And then you can look at the visual components of that image as well. All right, if we can skip to the next slide. This is another image that I found, and it's Lyndall Romero, and this is from Amplifier. Are you all familiar with Amplifier? A group that's doing some really cool things with visual artwork. So take a minute to look at this one. Think about, what does this image bring up for you? And is it different from your response to the previous image? So write down your thoughts if you have any. Does anyone want to look at the other image just quickly, just to reflect back on the difference between the two? Okay, we can go back to the next one. All right, so if you want to comment, ask a question, or make a comment about what you reflected on, or if you want to write it in the chat, you're welcome to do that as well. But I would love to hear some thoughts on this image in particular. So James, yes, the Pietà, the Madonna and Child, you're seeing that. I saw that as well. Madonna of Care. Thank you, Cam. Yeah. And how is this one different from the other one? Anything in particular on that? Vincent says the feeling of being alone together, we are all experiencing this differently, but at the same time in a variety of ways. Yeah. So some of my thoughts about this image, it has a very different feel. The first image is kind of prescriptive. It's something that in a healthcare environment you might see similar to like a marketing style photo. Whereas the second one, I think, has a much deeper emotional quality. It's much more reflective and open to interpretation, but it also taps into some really strong art history roots and notes, and has a lot more visual imagery in there that's going to connect to a lot of different kinds of experiences. So I think that really represents something that's very helpful when we think about images being useful in terms of coping with stress and burnout. Something like this, I think, provides more opportunity for a clinician or a physician to be able to project and connect in their own individual way, rather than feeling like an outside body, which the first image represents, giving a sort of prescriptive suggestion that is meant to be useful for everyone, but may not necessarily be useful for everyone. Okay, so next. One of the things I also want to talk about in terms of the experience for healthcare workers, misinformation can be a really huge complicating factor for the work that people are trying to do. So this image, which is also part of the WHO campaign for COVID-19, hot baths don't prevent COVID-19. This was a submission by artist Shayna Hale, and it really represents one of those sort of things that get sent out in the population that say, oh, if you take a hot bath, it'll help cure COVID. But that's not scientifically based, and actually can really complicate the efforts when physicians are having to reiterate and reiterate and reiterate a scientific truth to help inform their patients and reduce the spread if they're combating things that are misinformation based. And that misinformation can also increase anxiety, disrupt flow, erode trust, limit collaboration, and complicate our relationships too. And it heightens our emotions, and that emotional response to what's going on in our environment is really significant. Okay, next.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so let's look at this image. What do you see here? Let's take a minute to sort of play with this a little, and you can comment, or you can tap your space bar to share a thought. What are we seeing? Don't be shy. So Cam sees the frontline risk takers. Um, let's see what else we've got here. I want to know who the thumb is. Yes, there's no one on the thumb. That's a good one, Lauren. Okay, so I'll tell you, part of the reason why I chose this image is because you have these figures on the fingertips, but the legs, the ability to mobilize is maybe constrained in this image. Their legs kind of disappear into this role of being the hand, of being the work that's going out. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about constraint. Many of you who are on this call, or maybe everyone on this call, are artists or creatives in some way. And so we probably have this understanding and sense that constraint and restriction can actually be really helpful at times when we're trying to do something creative. But at other times it can feel suffocating and just kind of shut you down and make you feel numb. And so when we're looking at the experience of physicians and nurses and clinicians in a hospital, we also want to look at some of those factors that are going to help them have that creative experience of expressing their work really well, and things that might be shutting that down as well. So let me just look at some of these comments. Angela says, feeling intimidated amongst peers and the teams to contribute, be creative, take risk on instinct. Rick says, 5 fingers on each hand, turn on water, take a stand, add some soap, rub it in, rinse away, dry off again. Thanks for that, Rick. I think that's the song right there that's beginning. And James, thank you for pointing out no racial diversity. That was one of the things that really struck me in this image. And I was looking through the whole collection of WHO images on COVID-19 and noticed in there that there wasn't anything else that communicated the same thing as this, that actually represented the diversity of our healthcare workers in America. And that really troubled me and bothered me, but also made me wonder if the artist was making a comment on that, on the perception of who those workers are. And so,
Okay.
So anyway, I think that's an interesting conversation point too. All right, let's go to our last slide. And I want to talk just a minute about Robert Landy. This is something, if you're interested in looking up more on drama therapy and some of the theories, Robert Landy is one of the pioneers of drama therapy from New York University. And he described one of the most important components is looking at the different roles that we play, and that taxonomy that you hold in your life. If you have more roles that you're prepared to jump into and play, that fluidity from one to the next is actually a sign of health. Whereas if you are constrained and have fewer roles and less elasticity within those roles, then a lot of times it can make it difficult when you have sudden changes that are outside of your control or your decision making. And then also thinking about the source of your reality, knowing that in this moment, my reality is XYZ, and it comes from this way of thinking or this thing over here. So, so those can be really helpful things. Now this drawing sketch that's over on the right, I just want to say I'm not a visual artist. I have had some drawing lessons. Kate Kelly, who's an art teacher adjunct at UTC, is a friend of mine, and she was actually taking me through some drawing exercises. Tim Goldsmith, also, who is an adjunct art instructor, was working with me on some of these things for my art-based research class. And I did this blind contour drawing. Anybody else like to do blind contour drawings ever? Raise your hand, make a comment. So let's take just a minute. I want to give everybody an opportunity to think. I'm going to read this quote from Kate. She said, even if the logic of what we draw is not what you want an architect to build, it's still evidence of what your eyes are doing when they are looking and seeing. And I think that's a really poignant quote when we think about our effectiveness in the world and combating that sense of helplessness in burnout. When we look outside of our own hand and our blank piece of paper and sort of mask that and look out, a blind contour drawing means that you're not looking at your hand or your paper while you're drawing. You're just looking and seeing very carefully at your subject, and then letting your hand move in the direction of what you're seeing. So let's take just a minute, and I'm going to challenge all of you to grab a piece of paper and a pencil if you have it. And you can either draw someone who might be within your view in your space, or you can look through our images, either your own self in your screen, or you can pick someone else who's on this call and do a blind contour sketch of what you see. Give you just about, this is a really quick exercise. We will take 30 seconds and go. Okay, anybody got a drawing? Want to share? Feel free to hold yours up if you have a sketch. Oh, I love it, Francis. Thank you. Can we see that again? And Vincent, thank you. Yes, these are fabulous.
Shayla, that's
Elena,
you.
wonderful. Sorry, Francis, you were speaking.
Shayla, that's you in your little box.
Ah, yay. I love it. Let me see it again, Francis. Where are you? I've lost you. That's me. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Francis. Oh, Cam, hold it close so I can see. Oh my goodness, that's gorgeous. Okay. That's an amazing blind contour if I ever saw one. I love it. Okay, well done, everybody. I hope this helped. I know it was fast and furious. I would love to speak with anybody who has more questions. If you want to have a conversation another time and go through or talk about any of the research that I referenced for this, my email address is at the bottom of the slide, but of course you can always reach out to Rodney or James and they can pass that information on to you as well. And I'm happy for anyone to have my phone number or email address. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, one of the things we've been working on at ArtsBuild is to try to create a network of arts therapists and creative art therapy, expressive arts therapists. And I see many here on the Zoom calls, Cam, of course, and others. So how many do we think are actually certified or close to being certified here in Chattanooga? Shyla, so how many do you think?
You're asking me. I think the last time we counted, we had somewhere around a dozen creative arts therapists in the area who actually have gone through the official training and credentialing of that, or in the process of that.
So would you say that those of you who are certified would certainly be willing to be, advisors or consult as becomes a whole art therapy? Are people asking for arts during this time, if people just as a resource for folk?
I know I certainly am willing to do that. And I see Cam raising her hand. I know she's been a longtime mentor to a lot of different students over the years for art therapy. experience is kind of broad with the expressive arts therapies, and I have a deep and powerful appreciation for each individual creative arts therapy organization and what they provide. And I would love to be able to see some support, more support at UTC. I love that we have Katie there and starting up the new music therapy program, but I think it would be really important for our community, which is artistically diverse, to have more than just music therapy. We need to have art therapy and dance therapy and drama therapy and poetry therapy represented in the coursework at UTC. I think that would be a really powerful way to meet the needs of those students who are coming in and wanting to participate in this powerful field.
And that's a great segue over to Katie,
Yes.
who just started a great program at UTC. So welcome, Katie, and let us know what's going on with music therapy at UTC.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Goforth-Elvert. I'm a board certified music therapist, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the director of the new music therapy degree program here at UTC. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it is that I do at UTC from an academic standpoint and how our program is impacting the community, as well as some clinical experiences to really highlight the effectiveness and the impact that music therapy can have as a creative arts or expressive arts therapy. To give a little bit of background on myself, I'm a native of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I hold a master's of music in music therapy from Florida State University. I'm also a licensed music therapist in the state of Georgia. That's one thing that's happening currently in our field across the country is task force are coming together to be able to seek licensure. Although we're board certified, licensure is a key component to one, protecting our clients that we serve, because music can be harmful, and also ensuring our profession as the entity that it is. As far as what we do as music therapists in regards to our education, our clinical training, and our credentialing process. I also hold an advanced certification in the neonatal intensive care unit, allowing me to work with our premature babies. Most of my clinical experience has been in the pediatric medical setting, and I'll talk a little bit about that experience today, highlighting a patient experience. But we can skip to the next slide, and I'd like to introduce you to just a few of the students that I have the pleasure of serving in my role as director. I am so excited about this program. We just completed our first official year of coursework, and was it an interesting year with everything that we have been tasked with, but we are thriving. We have a total of 8 students currently enrolled in the program. We're projected to have a total of 18 majors joining us in fall. So we're really growing. The need for this program in our community and surrounding area has definitely been fulfilled by the creation or the establishment of this degree program. So at UTC, we offer 2 tracks. One is a Bachelor's of Music concentration in music therapy, meaning you're coming to get a bachelor's degree, which really equates to a 4.5-year degree in music therapy, 4 years worth of coursework where you do complete a minimum of 180 pre-clinical internship hours, and then you complete your 6-month clinical internship after all academic coursework has been completed. So minimum requirements of any board certified music therapist in the country is to have a bachelor's degree in music therapy, have earned over 1,200 clinical training hours, and then successfully passed the National Board Certification Exam, earning the credentials MT-BC. We also offer an equivalency track. So that's for individuals who already have a complementary undergraduate degree and are specifically looking in the field of music therapy. And so they come to UTC to earn the equivalent of an undergraduate degree. So whether you're an equivalency student or a bachelor's degree seeking student, you're going to take courses related to music foundations, so theory, history, ensembles, applied study. You're going to take clinical foundation courses such as psychology classes related to child development, abnormal psychology. You'll take functional human anatomy, beginning modern dance, concepts of wellness to really understand how the body operates and moves and functions. And then the music therapy concentration is specifically the core music therapy classes that I teach that really answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how of therapy. And so it's a really great program. There's lots of clinical training components added into the degree program, which absolutely makes it essential and successful for you as an entry-level professional. But I would love to talk about the impact music therapy has served from a clinical standpoint currently in Chattanooga. So if you'll skip to the next slide for me. I always believe that seeing it helps those believe it. I can't necessarily do music therapy with you in the present, but I certainly can share some client experiences. The individuals that you see in front of you are the Trembling Troubadours. They are a choir made up of individuals living with Parkinson's disease, as well as their caregivers. Lots and lots of research in the field of music therapy supports the use of this modality with individuals living with Parkinson's disease. So goals related to our choir is to, one, utilize their voice. We found that the use of therapeutic singing helps to increase articulation as well as vocal intensity of individuals with Parkinson's. So one of the side effects that we see of the diagnosis is the loss of their voice. But our research literature supports therapeutic singing to be able to help maintain or even increase their vocal production. And the idea is, of course, to allow them to maintain what type of independence they can while they can. And our choir is run just like any choir. We start with movement exercises, then we transition into breathing exercises and vocal warm-ups, followed by standard repertoire that we choose as a group. I take requests, but I also specifically choose music that is going to challenge them vocally, whether that's looking at increasing their vocal volume, sustaining their breath support, whatever it may be. I'm choosing music with a very intended functional purpose. And that's the beauty of what music therapy is, and a music therapist's clinical training and education is we use music in a very specific, intended, purposeful way. It's not us just coming in and singing and playing guitar what we want to hear, but it's specifically tailored towards the client or the clients that we're working with. And so we're able to meet this group of individuals' needs on a physiological level, also on a psychosocial level as well. The choir serves as an informal support group without us sitting down and saying, well, tell us what it's like to live with Parkinson's disease. And that's another beautiful thing about music therapy, is that it really masks those non-musical goals that we're working on. And we also have a chemical effect with the use of music therapy on this population. One of the key identifiers for a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease is the lack of dopamine production. And as we know, music is a very enjoyable, pleasurable, soothing experience. We see it constantly integrated into our lives, whether we're in the car listening to the radio, in the grocery store, in a restaurant, or attending a musical event. Music is very present, and we can see that when we engage in music listening or music making, there is an increase in dopamine production from our brain. And so therefore we are providing an increase in a chemical effect on the body that then allows them to function more effectively throughout their day. Next slide, please. So this is an example of a medical patient that I've worked with at a pediatric hospital in Jacksonville, Florida, specifically Wilson Children's Hospital. This is my friend Wyatt. He was 4 or 5 years old when he and I first met. He was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, AML for short, and his treatment required him to be in the hospital for 30 days at a time, out for 5 days, and then repeating that cycle 3, maybe even 4 times prior to undergoing a bone marrow transplant. Wyatt, like any pediatric patient, came in with extreme high anxiety towards the environment as well as the hospital staff. His world quickly changed, and immediately music therapy was ordered by his physician to help with decreasing his anxiety, increasing relaxation. So really tapping into some physiological goals. And once we were able to really stabilize his anxiety towards staff, to help him relax and be comfortable, or really normalize the hospital environment, then we were able to work on some more psychosocial goals for him. Be it that he was in the hospital for 30 days at a time, he was losing out on what he normally would get at school, working on those pre-academic concepts. So everything from like animals, identifying animals, to colors, to numbers and letters. And so music therapy served as a way to ensure that he stayed developmentally on track. Once those physiological goals were met, it also served as a way to provide him opportunities to increase his cognitive stimulation, engage socially, also help with self-expression. You know, he was 5 at the time when he was undergoing treatment, and in a very scary environment. And for a 5-year-old, it's not necessarily the easiest for him to verbally articulate himself, but he certainly could use experiential music making experiences to communicate anger or sadness, or frustration, or whatever it may be. And I use everything from singing to instrumental play to movement to music to accomplish these goals. One of his favorite songs that we would always do was Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. But it served to meet him on a physiological, a psychological level, as well as really helping him overall cope while being in the hospital setting. And what was also really cool working with him, being a hematology oncology patient, was the fact that within our research literature, we have found that one 30-minute active music therapy session with a hematology oncology pediatric patient has been shown to increase the IgA antibody in their saliva. And so we, through music therapy, we're helping increase his immunity. And he's already an immunocompromised child. So it really helped him really target those mind, body, and soul needs that he had. Next slide, please. All right. This is just a quick snippet of a group that served here through the university. This is the Lantern at Morning Point out on Shaliford Road. We have partnered with them to, one, offer clinical services, but also allow the students to gain their clinical training hours that they require. One of the populations that's most served by music therapists is those with memory care needs, so Alzheimer's and dementia. Really, our group at the Lantern, when we do music therapy, we focus more on psychosocial goals, just because the group is so large. There would be anywhere between 20 to 22 residents attending group when we were there. And I would use evidence-based interventions like singing, music listening, instrumental play, musical trivia games, really to target increasing their cognitive stimulation. So helping them to orient to reality, but also tap into that long-term memory, because we know there's more memories there that are retained, especially from their youth, than in the short term. And then also providing them social interaction outside of what they get, because ultimately they are very isolated from their friends and family that live outside of the facility. And then a big goal that we target with any of our older adult populations, specifically memory care, is really enhancing their quality of life. So giving them a meaningful experience during their day. And sorry, within our group, we have a variety of different levels of functioning. And even when we're doing music therapy within a group setting, it is still an individualized therapeutic experience between that board certified music therapist and that client that we're working with. And so we might have a group member that is actively participating, following directions, responding to questions. One of those that you would not necessarily think this is an older adult with Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And then we have the other opposite end of the spectrum where we certainly would have individuals who their level of participation might just be sitting and listening. But whether they're sitting and listening or they're actively singing and playing instruments, we're still giving them a meaningful experience in that place and in that time. And one of the really cool things we see about the use of music therapy with this population is that they may not remember our face, they may not remember our name, but they certainly do remember the feelings that they had when we would sing with them. And even going back to their youth and to their life, they can recall the feelings that music has given them. And that is one thing that we know is retained late into the disease process. And as you see, music therapists work with all ages from the beginning of life to the end of life, as well as all abilities. So those that are neurotypical and those that might have special needs. But it's a really rewarding field to be in, and it is making an impact here in the community in a very, very important way. One thing that is constantly on the forefront of any music therapist or any music therapy student is, of course, burnout. And it's easy for any of us to get burned out when we're in a helping profession. And one of the things that I'm always striving, specifically when we became impacted by the pandemic and shifted to this online modality, and we're constantly staring at a screen, was self-care. And self-care is very important because we have to be able to care for ourselves before we can care for others. And today I would love to do a self-care opportunity with you all that you could take and do with yourselves outside of our time together. And so we are going to do a progressive muscle relaxation exercise. This is definitely going to be very abbreviated, but the idea is to take what we're doing here, take a moment to stop, control your body, and be at ease with that, because there's so much going on externally that we have no control over. But one thing we can control is our feelings, our emotions, and how we cope with that, and taking time for ourselves to ensure that we're doing what we can to help us to help others. All right, so I'm going to grab my guitar. All right. So for this relaxation exercise, you can either sit or lie down. Just make sure that you're nice and warm and comfortable. And you can certainly let your hands rest loosely at your side or either in your lap. And when you are ready, you can close your eyes. Become aware of your breathing and notice how your abdomen rises and falls with each breath. Now take in a nice, long, slow, deep breath through your nose, all the way down to your stomach, and hold that breath for just one moment. And then exhale that air through your mouth, allowing your breath to carry away all the stress and the tension you are feeling. Feel that your body has already undergone a change. The tension has begun to loosen and subside. Now let your breathing rhythm turn to normal and just relax. During this time, I will ask you to tense various muscles throughout your body. Please do this without straining. You do not need to exert yourself. Just contract each muscle firmly, but gently, and breathe in. At any time, if you feel uncomfortable, you can simply relax and just breathe normally. Bring your awareness to your toes. Breathe in deeply through your nose, and as you do, gradually curl your toes and tense the muscles in the soles of your feet. Hold your breath for a few seconds, and then release. Next, bring your awareness to your lower legs, specifically your calf muscles. As you draw in a nice deep breath, point your toes up towards your knees and tighten these muscles. Hold for just a moment and then release those muscles and exhale. In a moment, you will tense the muscles in front of your thighs. If you're lying down, you can do this by straightening your legs. If you are seated, you can certainly tense these muscles by pushing your heels down onto the floor. Take in a deep breath and tense those muscles in your thighs. Hold for just one moment and then release. Now bring your awareness to your stomach, drawing in a nice deep breath and then tightening these muscles. Imagine you are trying to touch your belly button to your spine and then release. Next, bring awareness to the muscles in your back. As you slowly breathe in, arc your back ever so slightly to tighten those muscles. And then release. Now give your attention to your shoulder muscles and the muscles in your neck. As you slowly draw in a nice deep breath, pull those shoulders up towards your ears and squeeze firmly. And now breathe out completely, allowing your contracted muscles to go loose and limp. Now bring your awareness to your forearms. As you breathe in, curl your hands inwards as though you're trying to touch the insides of your elbows with your fingertips. Now feel the tension subside as you relax and breathe out. Finally, tighten the muscles in your face by squeezing your eyes shut and clenching your lips together. As you do, breathe in fully Holding that breath. And then releasing. You are now completely relaxed from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Take a few more seconds to rest, relax, and listen to the sound of your breathing as you enjoy the lovely, warm sensation of relaxation. When you no longer can hear the music, you may open your eyes.
Boy, I want to just leave that silence there. Certainly, not only was it relaxing, but it was a sense of connectiveness, even though we're all separated. So thank you for that, Katie. That was great. We're going to spend, if there is a great information in the chat box of some people who had questions about opportunities, where to get more information and all that. So check the chat box there for more information. So thank you, Shyla and Katie. Appreciate that. And we do want to, we have a little time left to find out about a project with the Heart Gallery and Ava, a partner that's going on tonight. So who, Ellen or Jen, do you want to help share what's going on tonight with Art of Recovery? And James put that up.
Sure, thanks James for doing that. Actually, this is not just a partnership between Ava and Heart Gallery, but also Barking Legs. So when COVID-19 hit and we had to go into social distancing, Ava immediately started looking at the exhibitions that we had scheduled to be in our gallery. And one of the core values that we have is working with other nonprofit art organizations and highlighting them in our education gallery. So the Heart Gallery was scheduled to be in our exhibition space in May, and we realized that wasn't going to be able to happen. So Krenisha had thought of a way to incorporate not only the visual aspect of it, but bringing in some of some drama or acting behind it. And so she contacted Heart as well as Barking Legs with Marcus and asked for us to collaborate. And Marcus, I'll let you kind of jump in here as well as Ellen and talk about it. But it's turned into this amazing project that the three organizations have worked really well at producing, and it's going to drop tonight. Marcus, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so when Krenisha reached out to us, the idea was to take these beautiful paintings and art projects that came out of a series of sessions at the Heart Gallery. And all the sessions were, the art was created by people who are in recovery of one kind or another. And the idea being about healing and connectedness and wholeness and all the struggles that go into that. So we, at Barking Legs, we kind of looked at our artists and that we work with, and even ourselves and the staff who are artists who have ties to some of these journeys of struggling with addiction, recovery, abuse, these different ideas and experiences that were part of the project. So 7 of us have contributed original spoken word pieces, poems, stories, inspired by the artwork. So tonight we're gonna, throughout the gallery, as you're watching each piece on the screen, it's not just gonna be the painting by itself, but you'll also be hearing the reflections of these other artists that were inspired by the work. And it was really powerful. I know a lot of the artists that we reached out to and brought in, they they had some very intense experiences connecting with this artwork. And I think that what they presented, what they contributed back, what we got back from them actually reflects the intensity of that, this feeling of connection. Because there's oftentimes people are struggling with recovery, it can be isolating. And I think there's something really wonderful about this project wherein we're sharing these experiences that people have had, we're sharing very thoughtful reflections on those experiences, and raising awareness too of the need of services like Cadus and even the work the Heart Gallery does, bringing art therapy into the community. So it'll be on, we have a Facebook event page that I think it's on Barking Legs' page, it's on Ava and the Heart Gallery's page is also, we're all co-hosting it. And so the video, the watch party will be at 8 p.m. tonight. So you can just go to the event page and pop it up there. We'll also reshare it out to the various organizations' Facebook pages too. So you just find Ava, find Heart Gallery, find Barking Legs, or find the event page. You should be able to see the video tonight. And we encourage folks to to comment, to engage in conversation around this. This isn't just a gallery you sit back and watch on your own. We're sharing this experience with people. So we'd love to see some conversation even going further. So I think that's my part of it.
Ellen, is there anything that you want to add?
I think at first we were sad that we weren't going to be able to be at the Landis Gallery, but I absolutely think that the added dimension of the spoken word and other artists being involved is really going to make it special.
Yeah, I agree. And I really want to, this has been an amazing experience of Ava and Heart, the Heart Gallery and Barking Legs coming together, and each of us bringing in our own tools and creating this amazing experience. And I look forward to seeing it come to fruition tonight.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you. So do tune in tonight, 8 o'clock. Also, Marcus, you were on there. Do you want to just invite people to the drive-in dance party tomorrow?
Oh yeah, so busy weekend for Barking Legs. Tomorrow night, we are having a first of its kind drive-in dance theater down on Dodds Avenue on the corner of 14th and Dodds. It's just a couple doors down from where Barking Legs is. We have a troupe of 9 dancers who are going to be doing, presenting these original pieces that are choreographed to theme songs from iconic movies and television shows. So like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Breaking Bad, Twin Peaks, and like a bunch of others. And we actually partnered with WUTC. So people will pull up into the lot in their cars with the windows up so that we're not sharing the same breathing space. And then they'll just turn their car radio to 88.1 at 9 o'clock. And the soundtrack and the hosting by Richard Wynnum will come through their speakers. He'll be introducing each piece and the dancers and kind of giving context for each one. And then from your car with your headlights on, you'll see these dancers in the center of a field doing some really incredible stuff. We did a rehearsal last night that was weird, but fun. And so this is an experiment to see different ways that we can safely present performing art at this time. We feel really good about it. We think it will be spectacular. We do encourage people, there's a $25 suggested donation per car. Tickets have to be purchased in advance because right now we don't really have a way of taking tickets at the event. So we encourage everybody who wants to come to get those tickets as soon as possible. You can find those at barkinglegs.org or on our Facebook page at the event. Bring a snack, pack the family into the car, get out for a little bit. The presentation is only 45 minutes, so it's not even like, it's a whole night. It's long enough where you can come by, hang out, enjoy the show, and then go back home. And we do encourage people too, if you're in attendance and you're sitting in your car, to go live on Facebook and just tag us in it, to share this with folks who can't come out to the performance. It is being filmed by Megan Hollenbeck. She's come in town specifically to help us out with this. And we'll have the full video up as soon as she gets it edited, hopefully by the end of next week.
Very cool, very cool. And it looks like, and Dawn or Vic, either one had some information they wanted to share about a survey they did.
Yeah, we do very briefly. The choral community in general all over is reeling in the last couple of weeks after a webinar that's kind of been everywhere regarding the science behind aerosols, and the word singers and super spreaders is kind of what's out there. The fact that singers can spread particles about 6 times as far as you would speaking. And so what we're trying to do, the Chattanooga Boys Choir is coordinating with some directors from UTC and Chat State and several other community choirs and church choirs to really, we're doing a survey to collect some data to understand 2 things. One, just the impact of the choral community in Chattanooga, both from education, K-12, universities and colleges, community choirs, professional choirs, just an inventory of what we have and what we do on a typical annual basis, but also what the impact has been. And then the idea is that we will be coordinating some conversations with choral directors in Chattanooga as we navigate through what the immediate near-term future is. So I'm going to post a link to that survey in the chat room, and so that way you can participate in that or pass it along if you know somebody in the choral community. And then for those who participate, we're going to share those aggregate results. That way it can be used for advocacy in the coming years, hopefully not years, let's say weeks and months, as we navigate this new world for choirs and what we're able to do. And then also very briefly, I'm working on a project to connect parents. I have lots of parents who've talked to me about, oh my gosh, what do I do because camps are canceled? And then also several artists and arts organizations have said, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing about your camp? And I'm working with a company right now to kind of connect parents who want something to do with their kids with artists and arts organizations who want to provide classes online. And so this is a connection mechanism. And Rodney and James have graciously offered for me to present soon when that's finalized. But if you are interested in something like that, where basically we'll be able to market that as a Chattanooga artists collaborative offering all these classes to parents, and we'll market through things like Chattanooga Mom's blog and stuff like that. Send me an email and I'll make sure that you're getting that information as I'm pulling that all together. And I'll put my email address in the chat box.
Great, excellent. James, you want to finish us off? Any last comments and thoughts?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone, especially our presenters today. I'm so relaxed right now. I might go back to bed and take a nap. I mean, it's been wonderful learning so much and hearing what everyone is doing. I do want to remind everyone that we did record this session, and we're going to make the recording available on all of our social media platforms, but also we'll send it to you all through email too. And, you know, we definitely encourage you to follow Arts Build social accounts, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Continue to send us ideas of what you would like to see on these weekly sessions. Thank you for everyone who participated. And I don't have anything else. I just hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and a great week next week. Thank you.